The knife slipped, a sudden bite of pain that drew a thin line of crimson against the ash-gray dust of his thumb. Alex Trevin had liquidated his entire existence to buy the planet Xylo, seeking the kind of absolute silence that only comes with a deed to a dead world. He wanted to escape the noise of his past, to whittle wooden birds by a dying fire and forget. But the darkness watching him had other plans. They emerged from the obsidian landscape like wraiths woven from starlight and hunger. Tall, azure-skinned women with eyes that burned with the terrifying clarity of the starving. Kaelin stood at their vanguard. She was a masterpiece of sharp angles and scar tissue, a leader whose authority was etched into her very posture. She didn't want his supplies. She wanted his biology. 97 years, she rasped, her voice like grinding stones. A gender-culling plague had scoured their men from existence, leaving them to watch their daughters wither, their genetic line unraveling into extinction. Alex was no longer just a man. He was a resource, a miracle. Kaelin gave him 3 days to submit voluntarily before they took him by force. "Desperation makes monsters of us all," she whispered, the threat hanging heavy in the copper-tasted air. It is a haunting truth that echoes through the history of every world. How quickly the lines of morality dissolve when the cradle stands empty and the grave waits open. Trapped in the crushing weight, Alex rigged a distress beacon, a digital scream into the void. But the silence of the desert drew him out. He followed the Huntresses to their canyon and found the truth etched in stone. Rows of tiny graves, too many to count. In the center of their poverty stood a water pump, rusted solid, a mechanical failure that was slowly killing them. "Do you see a monster?" Kaelin had asked him earlier. Standing there, amidst the dust of dead generations, he saw only grief. That night, under the double shadows of the twin moons, Alex didn't run. He opened his toolkit. He worked until his knuckles bled, fixing the seals, clearing the valves. When the water finally rushed forth, clear and singing, it washed away the fear between them. He wasn't their prisoner anymore. He was the stranger who brought the rain. But peace is a fragile thing on the frontier. On the third dawn, the sky tore open. Xylocorp had returned to verify their sale, and they didn't like what they found. "Unregistered life forms," the loudspeakers boomed. To the corporation, Kaelin's people were just squatters on a balance sheet. Armored mercenaries dropped from the clouds, weapons primed to scrub the world clean. Alex stood on the ridge, his pistol a pitiful thing against the might of a corporate kill squad. "I am the owner of record," he screamed, but the firing had already begun. The canyon erupted into a collision of eras. Ancient stone spears shattered against modern plasteel. Plasma fire turned the canyon walls into molten glass. Women died protecting their last hope. Alex grabbed a fallen rifle, the recoil bruising his shoulder, firing wildly into the advancing wall of corporate steel. He wasn't fighting for property anymore. He was fighting for the look in Kaelin's eyes when the water had started to flow. Then, a grenade tumbled into the dust near Kaelin. Time seemed to stretch and snap. In that fraction of a second, Alex didn't think about his deed or his freedom. He dove. He took the fire meant for her, his body shielding the future from the flame. The world dissolved into white noise and agony. He woke to the sterile scent of antiseptics, not the sulfur of hell. The coalition had arrived, drawn by his beacon, turning a massacre into a diplomatic incident. But the room wasn't empty. Kaelin was there, battered but unbroken, holding his hand as if it were the only solid thing in the universe. She had prepared to force him into a life he didn't want, Yet he had chosen to die for hers. Months later, the wind still hisses across the rocks, but it no longer sounds lonely. The planet bears a new name now, Trevin Kell. Standing on the ridge, watching the settlement bustle with new life, Alex holds a new carving, a figure of himself, gifted by the woman who once threatened to chain him. He realized then that he had come here to escape the noise of humanity, only to find that the quiet he sought was actually the peace of belonging. They stood together, hand in hand under the alien suns, proving that even in the farthest reaches of the dark, love remains the only survival strategy that matters.